Hello everybody, welcome back to Fanblade. Now, I teased this week's video last week, and you've all seen the thumbnail, you know what's coming, but I thought I'd give you some context beforehand, just so you know why this happened. I live in New Zealand, obviously, we pronounce things strangely, and we're a long way away from anywhere. That means that if we want to buy something, whether it's an instrument or a kitchen appliance or a car or something, these things have to come from quite a long way away, and everything costs a lot because of shipping expenses and exchange rates and things like that. Recently, the exchange rate with Japan has been very much in our favour. But there's one slight wrinkle with shopping from Japan, is that the Japanese auctions are kind of timed to all finish around about sort of late afternoon, early evening in Japan time. And in New Zealand, that's about sort of roughly 2 a.m. And 2 a.m. is not a great time to make major purchasing decisions. Hence, I thought this would be a good idea. It's white. It's probably a bit difficult to see on this towel, actually. I should find a more colourful background for it. There we go. That's a bit better. What this is a copy of a BC Rich Mockingbird. This is made by Fernandes, hence the F instead of the B for BC Rich. We've got an F for Fernandes. I do not know what year it is. Fernandes don't put serial numbers on their instruments, so just trying to guess from the catalogues, it's roughly in the early 90s. Thing, roughly. It's an extremely interesting bass. It's a beautiful shape. I want to say that first off. I love this shape. I think that is a beautiful thing. This is a beautiful sculpture. This is a work of art. I won't hear a bad word said against it, except for all the bad things I'm going to say about how uncomfortable it is. Two-a-side headstock, which I always prefer, because I always think a bass guitar is long enough without having 4 on a line. Big, beefy tuners as well. Check these out. I don't know if they're attempting to be copies of Shaler's. These are just big, beefy, high-geared. They are really, really good units. Of course, painted neck as well, except for the black on here. This has then been clear-coated, and I'm not sure what's going on around here. It looks like the clear coat may be reacting with something in the white paint, and just around the edges, it's sort of starting to go cloudy. Again, I'm not too entirely certain what's going on there. Like, it's fine, it's not peeling off at all, it's not cracking or chipping. And speaking of not chipping, there's not a scratch on it. Most of the time on these basses you see all kinds of dents and chunks taken out of the sharp corners. This one's just in immaculate condition. The frets are in great shape, it's like it's never been played. Which is usually a warning sign. When a bass hasn't been played a lot, there's probably something wrong with it. Exhibit A. These are the original pickups that came on this bass, and they have got the sharpest edges that I have ever seen on any instrument. Within about 30 seconds, I noticed that was a problem, and they were going to wear a hole in various places in my thumb. I don't necessarily anchor my thumb on the pickup when I'm playing, but it's a really sharp edge right close to your hands, and there's just no excuse for that. So I've swapped them out. These are Damasio Model Ps. They are excellent. They have, the edges are nicely rounded. You're not going to hurt yourself on them. The design of these is near as damn it identical to these. You've got the split magnets. I think these magnets are probably slightly larger than what's on here. But then the pole pieces are a slightly smaller diameter, so 6 of one, half a dozen of the other. Like, these sound just as good as these, but these are unplayable. So, they had to go. Also, I just happen to have 2 sets of Damasio Model Ps in cream. It's just an absolute no-brainer. Put them in there, they're great. The bridge is excellent. It's just a big chunky piece of metal, and I like it. It could do with a clean. Just popping the neck off, I like to see this. The neck pocket is nice and tight, it is holding the neck by itself. That's a tight pocket. Looks like it's a maple body, there is nothing wrong with that. I don't know if that's particularly hard maple. It's not super heavy. It's certainly not a lightweight, but Yes, that'll be some type of maple. Yeah, that's nice and hard. We like that. I'm not going to test the neck because it's painted and I don't want to chip it, but if the body is maple, then the neck's got to be 100% maple. These aren't the original knobs that came with it. There were no knobs with it. In fact, you can actually see a little white ring around each of these where the original knobs would have been slightly wider, and the finish hasn't yellowed in that area. So that's a minor defect. You can barely see it. It's very hard to film. Control-wise, volume for each pickup and a switch between them. What's odd about this is that if you want to, say, have both on full and then turn one down a bit, that's good. You can get blending options. But then, if you want to like for a master volume, either one of these will function as a master volume and turn the other one down, which is kind of strange. Anyone who's wired up some Damasio Model Ps will know it becomes a right rat's nest. Inside the cavity is just, it's chaos. For now, it's working, and I just run them both on full and then switch between them. Although, we'll talk about the bridge pickup in a bit. So it's made of excellent materials. It's extremely well made out of those materials, and they've used really good hardware on it as well. So it's time to talk about the elephant in the room, which is, of course, the phenomenal amount of neck dive. Like, it's really, really bad. Like, it's almost unplayably bad, which explains why it hasn't been played a lot. There's a couple of solutions for that. The quick and dirty solution is to simply put up with it, but you wind up sacrificing a lot of left-hand technique in holding up the bass. Also, the neck just goes on forever. And trying to play all the way up there while holding onto it, like, it's not ideal. Or you can push down with that arm, which adds extra weight onto your shoulder and also sacrifices this technique. That's not a great option. What I have seen some people do is they actually pop the strap across the top, and that does hold it in place. But it also, unfortunately, rotates the bass ever so slightly in, so this point here winds up sticking you in the ribs. It's uncomfortable. And the neck's... and that can happen. And the neck just goes on forever. We have a couple of better solutions here. With any standard shaped bass, like most Fenders, most Ibanez's, most Yamahas, yada yada yada, the strap is going to come over and join on at about the 12th fret. That's where the sort of the top horn usually comes to. And that shifts the centre of balance, and it also shifts the whole bass back a bit. So the neck doesn't seem quite as long, and it hangs better. Obviously, I can't do that with this body, or can I? Neck dive compensator. I've shown these before on the original Les Paul bass video from about a year ago. And it's just a length of steel rod, and you just screw it in there. And then that solves both of those problems of having, if I can get that on there, it solves the problem of the bass hanging too far that way and being unbalanced. It just sits where it ought to. And that's really good. And now that we've solved that problem, we've solved the razor sharp pickup problem, we can actually get to playing it and seeing how that good material, good craftsmanship and good hardware all comes together to make a bass that's actually very, very cool. It's got a pretty beefy sound to it, doesn't it? So that was just the neck pickup that you heard there. That's beefy enough. The bridge pickup's a little bit of a different story, though. It is so close to the bridge that you don't get a lot of volume, and the tone is quite thin. It's actually not much use on its own. But when you add both pickups together, you get that nice scooped, it's almost like a jazz bass kind of scooped tone. except it's beefier because they're P pickups, and this thing's hanging out so close to the bridge, it's just dripping with harmonics. You can do amazing things with this, and further to what I was saying about positioning, when you're sitting playing this bass, it wants to go quite a long way this way. Your leg sort of sits in there, and it's just in the position where you can do a lot of harmonic things very precisely. So, before you ask, yes, that is the hardest piece I know how to play. Yes, I wrote it while I was trying and failing to learn Portrait of Tracy, and yes, I test every bass that I get with that piece, because not all basses can do it. Sometimes the pickups are just in the wrong place to get the harmonics. I mean, not that that really matters all that much, because as soon as you fret a note, all the harmonic nodes change. And there is no one specific perfect place to put a pickup. If there was, then we'd all do that. But, you know, there isn't, so we don't. Having a pickup that close to the bridge really does allow you to do some pretty amazing stuff. And I'm just super impressed with this instrument. For a random thing that I got because it was cheap and it was 2 a.m. and I wanted to go to bed, I got so lucky, I can barely believe it. I can highly recommend these. Fernandes, I believe, have quite a good reputation, and I can absolutely see why. This thing's just incredible. I would love to get the original BC Rich Mockingbird so I could compare the two, and also just to have an original BC Rich, because who wouldn't want that? But until I find one of those for sale at a cheap enough price, then I'm more than happy to make do with this. This is great. So thank you everybody for taking a look at it with me today. I don't have a teaser for next week. I haven't built any of it yet, so if that gives you any clues as to what I've got planned. But anyway, thank you all for watching, thank you all for subscribing, and I will see you very soon. Thank you.